so you know. And I
Okay.
think you get to press a little, yes, I will stay in my meeting here. So welcome to our 4th quarterly investor call. I'm the Chief Development Officer, Suzanne Willis, here at Second Harvest Food Bank. I'm here with my colleague, Sierra Top, who is our Donor Relations Manager. I'm happy to see you all out here, and I'm really excited about today's topic. This is about our newly approved 3-year strategic plan. So thank you for joining us. Today's speakers are Board Chair Michele Bassi. Michele has been with the banking industry for nearly 30 years. She started when she was 4. She currently is the Senior VP and Managing Director of the Santa Cruz market for First Capital Bank. Previously, she was with Wells Fargo and Lighthouse Bank. In addition to her work with Second Harvest, she's also the incoming board chair of the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds Foundation. She's a board member of the Cabrillo College Foundation. She's past president and board member of Capitola Aptos Rotary, a founding friend of Meals on Wheels, and a founding friend of Walnut Avenue Family and Women's Center. These and many other volunteer activities have earned Michele Women of the Year Award from the Aptos Chamber of Commerce in 2018, as well as Be the Difference Award from the Volunteer Center in 2019. We are so lucky to have Michele with us. Joining Michele today is Brendan Miele. He's the Chief Operating Officer here at Second Harvest Food Bank. Brendan joined the food bank in 2019, coming to us from Jacob's Farm Del Cabo, where he was responsible for the production of organic culinary herbs on 240 field acres and 1.2 million square feet of greenhouse space in Santa Cruz and San Mateo counties. Brendan is the past president of the Santa Cruz County Farm Bureau and has been a member of the steering committee for the Farm Food Safety Conservation Network. As Chief Operating Officer, Brendan is responsible for ensuring the healthy running of our operations, including inventory management, food safety, food sourcing, audit compliance, and so much more, everything that makes the food bank run. Brendan was one of the members of the Strategic Planning Committee who worked with our board and consultant and acted as a liaison between staff and the committee, ensuring that everyone at the food bank had their voices heard. Before we start, I just want to do a few housekeeping items. We'll be recording this session. You all saw that already. We'll make the recording available in about a week or so. And if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to type your questions into the comment box below. We'll have some time for Q&A after Michele and Brendan finish. If we stay with just a small group that we are, you can unmute yourselves and ask questions at the end anyway. So thank you all for being here. Michele, take it away.
Well, thanks, Suzanne, and thanks for that introduction. I'm tired just hearing about everything Brendan and I have been doing.
I know, I am too.
That was a mouthful. All right, so I am going to share with all of you a high-level overview of the strategic plan. To ensure the most effective use of resources and alignment among staff, board, and community partners, Second Harvest has long been guided by a strategic framework that articulates our mission, vision, values, priorities, and goals. Our mission is to inspire and support Santa Cruz County to provide nourishment for all of our community members. Our vision is a thriving community where everyone has access to nutritious food to support their health and well-being. And our organizational values include belonging, equity, creating community, serving with integrity, and innovative solutions. In early 2021, we began a rigorous process to assess our operating environment, reimagine elements of our strategic framework, and set goals to guide us over the next several years.
PowerPoint.
As the strategic planning process unfolded, several key data points emerged which guided our strategic thinking about Second Harvest's current situation and future options. These included need, opportunity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a rapidly changing environment. The plan was led by a task force that included 5 board members and 4 executive staff team members, and it took about 10 months. The board fully approved this new strategic plan in October of 2021. Our new plan will guide the staff and board in critical decision-making and ensure we align our resources and activities to achieve the best outcomes for our community. It will provide a roadmap for recovery from the pandemic. The extraordinary level of cooperation between all who had a hand in creating this plan results in a plan that's owned by everyone. We will all be responsible for executing it. We're confident it will be our guide for Second Harvest as together we work towards creating a thriving community where everyone has access to nutritious food to support their health and well-being, and where the root causes of food insecurity are tackled. We thank our participants, staff, board, partners, and other stakeholders who contributed so much to this plan. There are three primary factors creating the context of this strategic plan: the worldwide pandemic, our country and communities reckoning with racial inequities, and our planned transition of a new CEO for our organization in July when our beloved Willie retires. This will also mark the beginning of Second Harvest's 50th year. This is a 3-year plan, and we specifically chose this time horizon to allow for our new leader to settle in and learn more about Second Harvest and our community before embarking on a new planning cycle. And we also believe that it'll take about that much time for the pandemic to fully recover from the pandemic. Each priority has goals and strategies and key performance indicators, but for sake of time, I'm just going to do a high-level overview of each priority. As you can see, priority number 1 is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and it is overarching for all of the rest of the priorities. Overarching and embedded in all of Second Harvest's work and goals are diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, also known as DEIB. Second Harvest Food Bank Santa Cruz County stands in solidarity with our community members traumatized and horrified by the senseless murders of people of color. We're enraged with the systems that perpetuate racism and bigotry throughout our country. We recognize that systemic injustices exist, such as racism, classism, and sexism, and that these create and perpetuate conditions that sustain poverty and hunger. DEIB must be central and explicitly integrated into every Second Harvest decision, policy, practice, program, and budget. DEIB is both a product and a process, guiding our organization in the development of strategies and actions that reduce systemic inequities. We pledge to listen to and include the communities we serve in our work and to respond where bias and inequities appear. We will confront oppression and poverty by developing solutions to hunger that are community-driven, honor a diversity of needs, and value everyone. We will continue to educate ourselves and confront our unconscious biases. The next priority is community inclusion, engagement, and access. At the core of our mission is the distribution of healthy food throughout Santa Cruz County, accomplished by partnering with the network of more than 100 local nonprofit agencies and managing our own distribution sites where food access is limited. We need to link families and individuals with long-term nutrition homes and distribution programs and support stronger community agencies' cooperation to replace the mass distributions that we had at the fairgrounds and at the boardwalk that were critical to meeting the overwhelming need during the pandemic. To effectively create long-term nutrition homes, we must first listen to and learn from our participants what will best meet their needs. We need to reimagine our food distribution systems, putting the voice of the participants at the center. The pandemic revealed whole new sets of participants seeking assistance for the first time. While some of them have since gone back to work and recovered from the worst effects of the pandemic, others are still struggling and may continue to do so for the next several years. We need to double our efforts to understand the full breadth of food insecurity in Santa Cruz County, and working with participants, create innovative solutions to ensure no one goes hungry. The next priority is food insecurity's root causes. We recognize that in order to nourish our community and end hunger, we must work with others to address the root causes of hunger, systemic racism, and barriers to employment, education, housing, and healthcare. Public policy strongly impacts hunger and food insecurity. Stronger federal food programs like school meals and CalFresh are essential. Federal nutrition programs provide 20 meals for every meal that the Emergency Food Bank Network does. These programs are the front line of the defense, and the food bank is the safety net. During the next 3 years, we'll increase our efforts to advocate for policies at local, state, and federal levels that address food insecurity and its root causes. We'll be more intentional and strategic in forming partnerships, coalitions, and collaborations, focusing on those that hold promise to address the root causes of hunger. And the final priority is organizational effectiveness. Second Harvest has prioritized 3 areas of organizational effectiveness over the course of this plan: staff, partner agencies, and workplace infrastructure. There is no doubt the pandemic taxed every part of Second Harvest, and especially our staff. Passion and commitment to meeting the needs of the community has fueled the extraordinary work of staff since the onset of the pandemic in March of 2020. However, these efforts have exacted a toll. Staff is the most important strength of organization and essential to sustainability and any future success. Second Harvest recognizes it is critical to address staff satisfaction and retention. Based on comparisons with other food banks of similar size and scope and base and staff input, over the next 3 years, Second Harvest will make investments to adequate staffing levels, equitable and adequate compensation, which is especially important in such a high cost of living area like Santa Cruz, professional development, leadership development, and communication. There are also opportunities to invest in infrastructure like technology, equipment, and facilities, which will allow for greater organizational efficiency. Finally, of paramount importance is the successful recruitment, hiring, and onboarding of a new CEO. Community partners are the spokes of the wheel that can most effectively get food to where it is needed. We must put more energy and resources in strengthening our partner agencies and community-driven programs, many of which were forced to shutter during the pandemic or were severely taxed in meeting the community needs. We'll invest in infrastructure, building up our neighborhood food pantry network, and sustainability, and improving the use of technology. That's a high-level overview of our strategic plan. And at the core of it all is distributing healthy food.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle. That was great. So we're going to get into more details of the strategic plan, and Brendan is going to start us off. So, let's see. All right, Brendan. So why now and why this moment?
Yeah. I had to unmute, sorry.
I know.
Thanks, Sarah. You know, right now the need has never been greater. We're still in the thick of a 2-year-long pandemic that every time it seems to end just keeps coming back. The community has experienced, you know, a really significant economic downturn, job loss. We've had catastrophic wildfires. We almost had a catastrophic tsunami. I don't know what's next. We know that pandemic recovery could take up to 3 years. While challenging, the pandemic really provided the food bank with a lot of financial resources, which allowed us to take a really good intentional approach to this process and to begin to take on projects that we wanted to do to improve what we do and how we do it. We've completed the 3-year cycle of our last strategic plan. The food bank's 50th anniversary is this year. Willie's retiring. And all these factors came together really to create the perfect moment to craft the new plan, which will provide a really solid foundation and continuity by which we can provide the right space and time needed to find and onboard our new CEO and engage the community as we continue on our mission. I think one of the biggest reasons why now, and one of the things that was so exciting for both the staff and the board, was there was really this urgency to address the systemic causes of food insecurity, systemic racism, white privilege, discrimination in housing and employment, incarceration. Food banks have historically tried to remain pretty apolitical, solely focusing on feeding those in need. However, if we're truly committed to ending food insecurity, we have to acknowledge these root causes and be willing to change them. And you know, there's been powerful commitments to growing equity and inclusion and belonging across the country, and it's really time that Second Harvest engage.
All right, thank you. So Michelle, you touched on it a little bit, but could you expand on the work we've done to ensure that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is the focus and how we restructured the plan?
Absolutely. So we have hired an outside agency to work with both staff and board on DEIB. And they're really spending a lot of time with us. We have 3-hour-long meetings. And we are really working on making sure that there are actual plans that we can all do to bring DEIB at the front of every conversation we have and every plan that we have. We are in the process. We've hired a separate third party to help us with our CEO search. And that is a topic of every one of those conversations as well. So we have definitely put on a different lens. The board has a lens, the staff has a lens, and we're all looking at it a little bit differently, but we're all looking at it, which is what's important. And it's a topic of every meeting.
Great, okay. So Brendan, what other input from staff and the community was used to form this plan?
Yeah, I think, you know, real core of what we were trying to do and what the plan is directing us to do was listening. So we were really keen on getting the feedback from the community on what the food bank services are and who we serve. Because whether it's our volunteers, our donors, our staff, and those receiving our services, they are all people we're serving and we want their input. We really put the ownership of the development of the plan in the hands of both staff and board. And we were conducting staff engagement sessions to all of our frontline staff, all the way up to our executive management team, board engagement sessions, which really provided a great opportunity to align the plan with the food bank's mission and purpose. And actually our vision and values were updated during the course of the plan, which was extremely powerful. It really allowed for the right engagement so that the board could allocate the resources to support the work that the staff identified was needed to get the job done, and really brought just an incredible breadth of knowledge around everything from the strategic planning process itself, community representation, professional expertise. So I really appreciated the synergy of working on the committee with the board and with the staff, and really feel like we came up with a very strong plan.
Yeah, it's definitely been great being part of the process. So, all right, Michelle, what actions have we taken so far in addition to the ones we've talked about when applying the new plan?
Sure. You know, I feel like we've hit the ground running. We adopted it in October 2021. So we're just a few months out. We've already talked about our DEIB committee and our CEO search committee. And we have just newly formed a committee called the Compensation Committee. This is one I'm really excited about. And the sole focus of the Compensation Committee, and our chair of that is on the call, Cameron. Mm-hmm. And what that committee is going to be doing is figuring out how to make sure that we're taking really good care of our staff, who is taking really good care of our community. As we said in the strategic plan, the staff is the most important team in here. And we need to make sure that we are compensating them fairly or better than fairly, and making sure that we retain them and promote them and make sure that they are on the right track to whatever career they're looking for. So I'm excited about this compensation committee. It's a new committee that's just been formed. We haven't actually officially met yet, but maybe that's next week. So we're running. We're going to figure this out.
Great. Yeah, it's really exciting. Okay, so last question for Brendan. What are the next steps and what do you hope the impact of this plan will be?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Next steps, we are currently in the process of rolling out the final plan that was approved by the board to all of our staff so that everyone understands it and really is knowing where their part is in it every day, so that their day-to-day work is tied directly to our strategic plan and that they can take full ownership of it. We're engaging with the community as we expand listening, bringing the community partners to the table so we can grow our programming efforts and develop effective solutions that really address the systemic root causes of food insecurity, so that the people who are experiencing food insecurity are going to be problem solvers along with us. As far as the impact, we're hoping that we're going to inspire Santa Cruz County to volunteer, to donate, and work to tackle the root causes of food insecurity with us side by side. We hope that the impact will be to engage those in need to collaborate to develop those real effective solutions that meet their needs. It'll guide staff and the board in decision making and drive results. And really, at the end of the day, I think the real impact is going to be helping us to achieve our vision of a thriving community where everyone has access to the nutritious food that they need to support their health and well-being.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Suzanne, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and we can see if we have any questions or comments or anything.
Yeah, any questions, folks?
Mark here. I appreciate the presentation, and it's interesting to see where Second Harvest is now. Laudable that approaching the root causes, and it's a development from the board of something that past boards had been afraid to approach. afraid of alienating donors. So it's time, glad to see that that's happening. But I'd be away from the presentation, and I know the challenge of finding a new executive director, but away from that, what is the biggest challenge for the organization for the upcoming year?
I'll give you my thoughts, and maybe Willie, I should punt this to you, but my thought, again, obviously Willie going, is just the change in the community and the environment and the need that is so great. The one benefit we have is the opportunity. Our community has never been more generous, and it's given us such great visibility. So that on that hand, it's been great, but the need is so great. Our capacity and the wear and tear on our staff and our team. And we, like every other organization in the United States, most likely are short-staffed. We are struggling to find the right employees and volunteers. So it's more of a body needing more. That's kind of one of our bigger things that I see. Willie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree 100%. There's so much we want to do, as we embark in this new plan. So much I'd like to do, before I leave the end of July. And, the thing that we know more than anything is we need to catch our breath. We need to do some self-care. We've been running full out for 2 years. And, I think one of the things that's really important is to rebuild a sense of resiliency, in the staff, as it prepares for the CEO transition. So that to me is it's easier said than done. I'm kind of like an Energizer bunny, but although, I have my moments as well, but I know that the last 2 years have been challenging for our volunteers, and our staff, and, just finding that resiliency to really kind of put our shoulder to, some of these initiatives, is kind of really where we're at right now this spring, as we're really trying to lean forward.
That was a great question, Mark. Are there any other questions out there? I know we have a smaller group than we were anticipating, but I see a few other people joined us. Hi, Ginny, it's nice to see you. If there are no other questions, Sierra, do you want to wrap it up for us?
Well, this is Karen McCarty.
Yeah, Karen.
And my question is, and I totally understand the need for diversity and inclusion, but I'm sort of questioning, how did that bubble to the top of the priorities? Because, certainly with staff, we want to have a representation of our community with the staff. But I would think that the food security issue is basically colorblind, or we're going to serve whoever needs it.
Good point, Karen. And maybe I said that incorrectly. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is overarching of every priority. So it's part of every priority. And we're going to look at every priority through the lens of making sure that we're serving everybody. And from the surveys of participants, most of them are from are people of color, of different backgrounds. So that's where that's coming in. So I should rephrase, if I said it was number one priority, it's just the overarching of every one of our priorities. It's involved in every one of them.
And if I could just build on that, Karen, so when Sierra showed us that slide, so distributing healthy food is absolutely, that red dot, that kind of is this absolute center of everything that we do. And, as we really work through this plan this year, one of the things we really realized is, for instance, instead of just assuming that we know what the community needs, instead of just handing out food, which sometimes feels like charity, if you will, part of what inclusion and belonging is really about listening deeply to our families and our participants about how and what and where they need to be fed, and in what ways it feels sort of more less stigma and more respectful, if you will, but to really stop always doing for people and to try to start working with the community. And I think more than anything, I think that's the mind shift. A number of people talked about this plan is really about listening. We've been really good about talking for years and doing for years and doing for years. And now we really want to, bring our families and participants in as full partners and full allies. And in fact, help us reach other families who aren't necessarily connected. So, it's really kind of a subtle shift in some ways, but I think it's a profound shift in terms of really being able to drive our ability to distribute healthy food, to more families and to all families that need it, in a way that we have not been able to in the past. Does that make sense, Karen?
It totally makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're muted. I can
Still
hear you,
muted.
but
I was clicking it. I'm like, unclick. Any other questions? We had a couple really good ones.
yeah.
All right, Sierra, do you want to wrap us up now?
Yeah, so thank you, Michelle and Brendan, for taking the time to present today. And thank you to everyone who joined and your really thoughtful questions. So I will be sending out an email with the recording, and I can share that graph that we had, and then the slides from today's call. And it's also been a year since we started these, so we'd love to get some feedback on how it's going, if the time is still good for you all, if it should be different in any way, because we want to make sure it's really informative and helpful to you all that are also supportive. And yeah, our next investor call will be probably in April or May, so we'll start inviting you all to that in a couple months. And then we have a couple of events coming up. So this month, we have a new event, which is Sustaining Donor Appreciation Month, which is really exciting and fun. We're going to be sharing stories from sustaining donors and just sharing out why they joined. And then we're going to end with a Saturday sort on February 26th. So even if you're not a sustaining donor, if you've been interested in volunteering or seeing the food bank, we'd love to have you, and I'll be there, and it'll be a really fun event. And we'll give a tour of the food bank as well. So I'll send out more information about that. And then lastly, we have our annual awards dinner to celebrate the Holiday Food and Fun Drive. And that's on March 3rd at 5 o'clock, I believe. And so there's, you can go to our website to find tickets. And if you're subscribed to our newsletter, we're also sending out a bunch of stuff in there. So yeah, thank you again to everyone. And I'll send out my email and the follow-up as well. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. And that is it.
Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We look forward to seeing you at our next investor call.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey. Good to see you, Jenny.
Thanks, Willie.
Thank you.